Happy Saturday. We have another Saturday of college football, and it doesn't get much bigger than tonight's primetime game, a playoff elimination game between 6-2 Alabama and 6-2 LSU. The first 12-team college playoff rankings were announced this week. Alabama is at 11 and LSU is at 15. So there was a lot on the line tonight. But before we get to the matchups and the coaches, for the first time since 2015, LSU will have a live Tiger on the sideline. So this is going to be a wild environment tonight. Can't imagine what it would be like to be there. Both teams sitting at 6-2, like we said. This is a huge SEC game, and obviously the loser has 3 losses. They'll be out. They'll have no path to get to the playoffs. So let's start with Brian Kelly before we get to the matchups tonight. This is his 3rd season at LSU. It's his 3rd straight season with a 6-2 record after 8 games. His first 2 seasons, he finished the regular season 9-3. He did have that one SEC championship game appearance, but nobody really thought they were going to win that against Georgia. So this is huge for him in his 3rd year to avoid another 3-loss season. He took the job at LSU for the big stage and the big money. Doesn't get much bigger than this. The primetime SEC game in Death Valley. And it's like we said, a playoff elimination game. Kelly did have a big win against Alabama his first season at LSU. They were a home underdog and they beat Alabama in overtime. Now, let's look at that A&M game real quick before we get to Kalen DeBoer. And that A&M game, obviously LSU had those 3 field goal mishaps. They had 2 missed kicks and that untimely bad snap. And the story of that game was how they struggled against the run. They gave up 242 yards rushing. And one thing they struggle with is quarterback designed runs. In that A&M game, Marcel Reed averaged 6.9 yards per carry, and he scored 3 touchdowns. And also in that game, Amari Daniels, he averaged 7.6 yards per carry, and Le'Veon Moss averaged just under 6 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns. So LSU desperately needs to have an answer tonight for a dual threat quarterback, Jalen Milroe. LSU also had trouble against South Carolina. Sellers ran for a 79-yard run, the biggest quarterback rush of the season. So that's something LSU has to be prepared for tonight. And now let's look at Kalen DeBoer, his first season at Alabama. It's a tough spot, taking over for Nick Saban. 6-2, the 2 losses came against Vanderbilt and Tennessee. That Vanderbilt loss, 3rd down, just killed them. They could not get off the field on defense on 3rd down. And that Tennessee game, it was penalties, just dumb mistakes. They had 15 penalties for 115 yards in that game. Now, when Nick Saban was at Alabama, he had 2 seasons where he lost 2 games. That was 2019 and 2022. He also had 7 one-loss seasons. And his first year at Alabama, he was 7-6. But that was a much different program he was taking over than the one DeBoer took over this year. Obviously, it's going to be a tough road environment. Night game at LSU, and the loser is out of a chance at the playoffs. Alabama has won 11 out of the last 13 meetings, and tonight's game will be the first time since 2006 that both teams enter the game with multiple losses. Now let's get to some of the matchups tonight. The Alabama pass rush gets pressure 34% of the time, and they don't blitz that much. Based on the amount of times they blitz, they're ranked 118th, just based on how often they blitz, which isn't that much. And on the other side of things, LSU, Nussmeier has only been sacked 4 times this season. The only team that's given up less sacks is Army. Well, Army runs the ball all the time, so that's an impressive stat. But something that Alabama might be able to take advantage of tonight is LSU's left guard, Garrett Dellinger, is out. He had tightrope surgery. And they have a young center, DJ Chester, who's been inconsistent at times. So look for Alabama to get some pressure, try to get some pressure against that left guard position and even the center, and see if they can, get Nussmeier to make some mistakes too. In Nussmeier's last 4 games, he's thrown 7 interceptions. He threw 3 picks against A&M, 2 against Ole Miss, and 2 against South Alabama. So some matchups to look forward to. A look for is the Alabama secondary against the LSU receivers. Obviously, that's going to be a big one with LSU being pass heavy. Also, Alabama's linebackers and safeties against LSU tight end Mason Taylor. That could be one to watch. And then the run game. Can LSU stop the run? Can they stop Jalen Milroe? Because so far this season, they have struggled with that. And they've also struggled offensively running the ball consistently. So those are some things to look for today. LSU was giving up 6.5 yards per carry on quarterback-designed runs. That's the worst in the SEC. They've also given up 5 quarterback rushing touchdowns. That's the second worst in the SEC. And as I said just a second ago, their longest quarterback run of the season was giving up 75 yards against Sellers when they played South Carolina. That could be a huge problem for them tonight. And another thing to look at is third downs. Third down is going to be big in this game. So LSU's offense is the 10th best on third down. Alabama's defense is ranked 15th on third down. But as I said before, against Vanderbilt, Alabama could not get off the field. So that's going to be a matchup to watch. On the flip side, Alabama's offense, they're 61st on third down, and they have some problems we're about to get into with next. And LSU's defense is ranked 80th on third down. Now that Alabama offense, when it's third down and 7 or more, they're the second worst. The only offense that's worse on third and long is Kent State. So if you're Alabama, obviously you want to avoid third and long. And if you're LSU, you want to force them into third down passing situations. And, Alabama, they can't have those mistakes, those penalties. Third down was the biggest problem against Vanderbilt, penalties against Tennessee. LSU, with Brian Kelly as their head coach, they're 17-1 at home, and they're 3-1 at home as a home underdog. And Alabama, the last 5 games in Baton Rouge, they're 4-1 against the spread. Alabama this morning was a 2.5-point favorite, and the points total was 58.5. So if you're Alabama, will the Alabama team that played the first half against Georgia show up tonight? Will we see that team? Can they put that together for a full game tonight? Can they avoid those third down problems and the penalties? Can they force Nussmeier to make mistakes? Can their defense, get some pressure? And if you're LSU, you have to protect Nussmeier. You have to find a way to slow down Milroe. And they haven't been able to slow down quarterbacks yet this season. They have to be able to limit him or at least slow him down in some key situations. And they can't have those special teams problems that they had against the Aggies. I don't have a pick in this game. I'm leaning towards Alabama because I just think they're less one-dimensional than LSU is. And the things that Alabama does well, LSU struggles with. But I don't have a lock in this game. Looking forward to watching the game. Leave your comments below. What are your thoughts on this game? Who wins? What do you think the score will be? We hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you have a great day, and enjoy the games.